Hello and welcome to another Solution Sunday, where the soul is the solution. I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing and creator of Solution Sunday, and also the creator of Aligning with Your Radiantly Healthy Self, a 12-week program to really dive in and learn how your body actually functions so that you can heal your own body anytime you want. Today, we are here with Clutter Consultant Lianne Hofer. Lianne is one of my very good friends, and I am so excited because she is going to talk about clutter busting today, and we're going to talk about clearing clutter multi-dimensional style. So tune in for a great conversation. Lianne, welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm so excited to be here. And just so that everybody knows, this book right here is not clutter.
Thank you, as you're holding up my simplicity, the simplicity of self-healing. Yeah,
amazing book.
That book is all about clearing the mental clutter that we have all accumulated from years of living with false information about our bodies. So here we are today talking about clearing clutter. So Lianne, let's start with you and your clutter clearing story. How did you end up becoming a clutter clearing queen?
Wow, thanks. Where's my crown? So my journey is really interesting. So I have never had an issue with clutter. It was my coping mechanism dealing with childhood trauma. So I couldn't control the trauma that was happening around me, but I could control the physical space I was in. So that gave me a sense of control. So what ended up starting as a coping mechanism turned into a career. So here's a way of swapping your thinking around, right?
Exactly. You know, I love this. I love this analogy because it really is absolutely true. You know, we each have our own personal energetic space as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the only thing that we can control is the stuff that is directly under our own control. We can't control anybody else. We cannot control the world around us, and we're not supposed to. That's not our job.
Well, we have a friend who talks about his 3 feet, right?
Exactly.
Keeping your 3 feet. You can only control what's directly around you.
Exactly.
So, as an adult, you can easily, if you're in a bad spot, you can walk away from somebody who's giving you that funky vibe or somebody who doesn't feel good. You can walk away. And if you're sitting in a space that's filled with a whole bunch of stuff and it doesn't feel good, you can control that.
Exactly. You know, most people that are listening know of Keith Leon. He is my monthly guest here and our really, really good friend. And he is the one that talks about my 3 feet. And it really is like our energy field extends out from our body, just about arm's length, about 3 feet on either side, you know. And I talk about the energy field, you know, it's the aura. You know, it's our literal energy field. And just because we can't see it with our eyes doesn't mean that it's not there and that it doesn't exist. And you know, we have accumulated, as humanity, we have all accumulated a ton of clutter in our
Well, of course we have, right? I mean, these companies, right? It doesn't matter what the company is. I mean, pick the company. Anybody that's got a storefront, anyone who's advertising online, they spent billions of dollars to figure out how to get into our little heads and tell us we're going to feel happier if, and of course, what are we all looking for? We're looking to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. Everything is driven by that.
Exactly. You know, and why is that? Because it's our natural state of being. It is what is natural to feel good.
Look at babies. If you're having a bad day, go look at some babies. Babies are like as pure as we can possibly get here. So, and what do babies do? They're always smiling and they're laughing. And if they're not, it's because there's something wrong and it needs to be fixed. They're hungry. They need a new, they've gone to the bathroom. They need to be cleaned up. I mean, they're uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So, we're kind of the same way. The difference is we get so used to being uncomfortable that we forgot how to be happy.
Exactly. As we are souls first and foremost, and as souls, we choose to come here and incarnate, come into a physical body. So these little babies, they're full-fledged souls that have come into a tiny body. The body can't be any bigger because you can't birth a full-sized human. So you gotta birth the little baby first. But it is a full-fledged soul. But that little baby is treated like it's a blank slate, like it doesn't know a single thing, but it's literally connected to the entirety of all of creation. And, when those babies are born, what do we feel when we're around them? We feel
just love,
unconditional love.
Yep.
Right? Because their aura is pure. It is uncluttered. It is pure joy, pure curiosity, pure unconditional love, pure purity. That is who and what we are as souls.
Have I told you how much I love talking to you? I could talk to you like every day. You could just sit here and talk all day and I would just be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to suck it all in like a dry sponge. Even if I already know it, I don't care. I'm still going to suck it all in again.
Awesome. But like, if you think about it, like it really is true, that the babies they're not unintelligent. They're not without knowledge. They are literally connected to universal wisdom, but then they're taught these limitations. They're given these limitations of all kinds of clutter, what kind of, I don't know, I just call them like junk thoughts that we go to school and it's like, here, think this, think this, think this. We didn't learn anything in school of any real value. We didn't learn how to grow food. We didn't learn how to, clear our own energy field. We didn't learn how to get along with people in the world. We didn't learn how to live peacefully with nature and be provided for.
Most schools don't teach how to meditate. They don't really teach. I mean, you get some of these courses that you do take or topics that are covered, they're covered so quickly that there's really no meat to it. It's so incredibly surface that how could it ever stick?
Right, exactly. It's insane. So we have to really start looking at where is the clutter in our lives. So in our home space, the home is a direct reflection of the energy space. So our thought space if our thought space is filled with clutter, our home is going to most likely be filled with clutter as well. Or there's going to be some form of physical clutter, whether it's the physical body not working the way you want it to work because it is bogged down with energetic clutter. Yeah.
Yep. So one of the things that I love is when someone calls me and says, I need some help, and I get to go into their space, I immediately can see the step-by-step process, right? What are we going to do what would be the best way to go through this stuff? But what I'm really paying attention to when I talk with somebody is what are they saying? How are they saying it? How are they holding themselves? How do they handle their stuff while they're walking around in it? Are they touching it? Are they refusing to touch it? How much is there? What's there? Those are the things that I'm looking for. The rest of it, it's so interesting because I'm like, yeah, we can do this. I mean, this is not a big deal. But I think we build it up to be such a big deal. And then we give that physical clutter so much power, it doesn't have power. When we take that power away, it's just like what we were talking about before we went live, right? When we take our power back, it's so easy. So it's fascinating when people are able to break, and I see them at the end of a session. We had this one woman, and it was fascinating because she was a shaman and she couldn't touch her stuff when we started. 5 sessions in, I looked up at her and I said, don't look now, but you're touching your stuff. And she's like, oh my God, I am. It was so cool. But it was fascinating. She couldn't even touch her own stuff when we were talking about what do we keep and what do we let go and where does it go and how do you want to handle it? It was fascinating. She's just one of like a gazillion examples, but yeah, it was. And then once we were done, to see her sitting in this space with just this lightness about her and just this easy grin, it was amazing. Amazing.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so cool. You know, my space, I grew up with a mom who was like a total neat freak, you know, for lack of a better word. You could do the white glove, you could still do the white glove test pretty much anywhere in the house. Everything is always in its place. Like there's never a dish in the sink. You know, like everything is always exactly where it's supposed to be. And I was never particularly like that. Like I didn't understand like why is everything so rigid all the time? And so I think I kind of swung my pendulum the other way for a while, that like I always know where everything is, but like it's not in this like really neat, clean, clutter-free thing. Like I always have like piles of things on my desk or you know, stuff just like I don't know what to do with this right now. I'm just going to put it here and I'll deal with it later kind of thing.
Well, that's really clutter. Clutter is really just a delayed decision. So it's
Right?
like, I'm not going to deal with it right now. So we're just going to set it over here. And that's what clutter is. And then it builds up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So your mom is somebody who really needs to keep her space. And part of that is probably, and I don't know your mom, so I can't say, but it's part of her ability to control what's going on around her and to control her thoughts. And so she's kind of like a hyper organized person. It's so fascinating. People come to my house and go, "Oh, your house is so neat and it's so tidy." And I'm like, "Well, that has been a process. I've been eliminating things since I was a kid. And I'm finally now in my mid 50s at a place where I don't feel like I have to shed a lot anymore. The things that are around me are things that at my current place where I live all have meaning or purpose. And that's why they're there, either to me or to the other people that I live with. That's it. There isn't a lot of that extra stuff, but it's taken me 50 years to get here. This isn't something that just happened overnight. And my mom she's not with us anymore, but she was depressed. She was in a horrible marriage. She was dealing with her own demons and she was a mess. And what I found is when I went and cleaned off the dining room table, which was our dumping ground as a kid, right? We'd come home from school, we'd dump all our stuff on the table. The mail went on the table. The newspapers back in the day, the table was always like this mound of, just crap. And I would go through and make different piles. This is the mail. I would open the mail. These are the bills. These are the statements. These are, school things for my family, my siblings and me. These were things that my mom did Tupperware. This was Tupperware stuff. This was my dad's stuff. It just made these little organized little piles. And you could almost see her depression kind of lift a little. And it was easier for her to focus on what she was doing and to engage in life again. And I think it was because everything wasn't scattered all over the place. Her energy was physically represented by her stuff. So when I was able to give that stuff some sort, and here's the other thing, I gave it some sort of semblance, right? You don't have to be perfect. It does not have to be perfect. I want to take that off of people. I think when people hear organized, everything has to be just so. No. Take that just pluck that right out of your head and just put that in the recycle bin and let that get taken care of by somebody else. It just needs to work for you. So if maintaining a couple of piles on your desk that are neat works for you, that's fine. You don't have to have your desk totally cleared off. If you want your desk completely cleared off, then that's a different conversation, but you don't have to. And I think that that's part of it, right? We put all this pressure on ourselves that we have to be perfect. No, everything does not have to be perfectly placed unless that's what you want.
Beautiful. Now, I know that you work with people remotely, like you don't even have to go to their house. And
Correct.
yeah, we've got a mutual friend that you worked with that I think she's lived in a different state. And now
Mhm.
she's like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe how happy I am. I got up and I made my bed this morning. It was such a big deal before, and now I just make my bed. And like my house is really clutter free and I just feel so amazing. Like, how do you work with people when remotely like that?
That's my favorite way to work. So yeah, so what we did is we started with, we just had a phone call, we had a conversation. She sent over some pictures of her space that she wanted to work on. And then we had video phone call for an hour to an hour and a half, a couple of times. I walked her through the process. She created some homework. So built into that time, she had to have some time after we hung up to answer the homework that we created. And then we had some check-ins along the way. And she did all the work herself, which is super awesome because not only did she get to exercise work the muscle for organization, so now she knows how to do it when I'm not there, but she also she learned the process and she did it herself. So there's like this, it's kind of like I know you've been working out, right? You've been working out and all of a sudden you're lifting 10 pounds and you're like, wow, this is really heavy. And then the next thing you know, they're like, well, let's go to 20 pounds, and you do the 20 pounds. And then when you go back to the 10 is like super easy. It's the same thing. So now it's super simple. She wasn't making her bed. Now she's making her bed before she even gets out of bed in the morning, which yes, you can do. And it's so much easier.
Right?
So yeah. So before you even get out of bed in the morning, before you even put your feet on the floor, just pull the bedding up, give it a fluff, pull it tight, flip it over, hop out, flip it back, you're done. It doesn't have to be perfect. But if it's neat, you immediately, there's a I think it's an army guy who wrote a book, Make Your Bed in the Morning or something. I'm not sure. If you look it up, Make Your Bed, you'll find it. The guy does a talk and he's got a book. The book is like super simple. You can read it in like 20 minutes or something. But the idea is when you make your bed in the morning, you immediately get a win because you've already completed a task, but you've also left your space looking good. Making your bed makes your bedroom look neat right away, even if there's piles of clothes and stuff all over.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great tip.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we've got to do some wisdom drop, right?
Right? Absolutely.
So that's how we worked together remotely. It was a little bit of phone call, a little bit of video call, and then, agreeing to what do you feel that you can take on as homework and you can actually accomplish. Because there's no point in saying, go through that stack of books. If you're looking at that stack of books and going, I don't know what to do with all of them. Well, that's not going to work. But if you agree that you can make your bed every day, well, let's start with that.
Beautiful. Lori says, just finished making my bed.
Yay, Laura!
Good morning, Lori. We've got Delbert and Brenny. So good morning, everyone.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, comments, drop them in the chat. Here we are here on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, drop comments for us. We're happy to answer there on YouTube as well. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel.
It's a great channel. You should subscribe.
Right?
Yeah, my brain is open. What do you want to know? Let's talk. Let's talk clutter.
Yeah. So what kinds of mental clutter do you think people have?
Oh gosh, trash talk. Trash talk. Trash talk. We're all talking trash to ourselves, right? I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too thin. I'm too this. I'm too that. I'm too loud. I'm too quiet. Yeah. That one is definitely a little more challenging in my perspective. For me, that was where my clutter sat. My clutter sat with, you're not good enough. And identifying, I think the hardest part for me, everyone said, oh, watch out for your ego, because that's essentially what's talking. So for me, it was hard to identify when is that voice coming in, and to tell it to shut up. And then once I figured out how to do that, then I was able to do the work. For me, that was the hardest part, was being able to identify it, understand it. And that took a long time. It's like, I know I'm good enough, but yet I'm hearing I'm not, and I'm hearing it from me. So how do I turn that off? And that took some work.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane when we come into these bodies as pure souls and nothing but unconditional love and light and joy and curiosity. And then to get everything turned around to, I'm not okay, I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me. It takes a lot of work to get to that point, to stop believing in ourselves, to stop knowing who we are. Because when we know who we are as these grand souls, we don't believe any of that stuff. None of that stuff is relevant, because we know that we are pure unconditional love, that we are totally worthy, that we are here for a reason, and that we deserve to be here, and that we deserve to live happy, healthy, peaceful lives, without being constantly poked and prodded and told that we're not good enough or that we should be doing it differently.
Exactly. So turn off your television, stop looking at the magazines at the checkout counter at the grocery store, and you will be so much happier.
Right? Turning off the TV was like the greatest gift I ever gave myself. I was right? It was like, for so long, I was just so uncomfortable in this society. Like I had so many memories of like being connected to source and unconditional love, and I knew for certain that this planet, we were supposed to be able to live in peace and harmony and be provided for, and but that's not the way it worked here. And I could never fit into the society the way it was. And so I always felt like I was the outcast or the reject, or I was always corrected or told that I was wrong. So my self-esteem was just itty bitty. Like I was like this little shell of myself, which of course led to me having physical disease. That was the problem. My body wasn't the problem. The being a shell of myself, that's the problem.
Yes. Yes. I'm so glad that you turned off the TV, and I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you wrote your book, and I'm so glad that you're doing all these things, and I'm so glad all these people are following you, because I think you have so much wisdom. So much wisdom.
Thanks.
I can remember, I have this memory. I was sitting in my parents' Volkswagen Beetle Bug, because we had a yellow one and an orange one. Why do I remember that? But I remember not being able to speak English to my parents, right? But I remember trying to communicate to them and changing what I was saying to match what they were saying. So while I don't have the same memories that you have, it's fascinating that I can recall those memories of, and that's what, it's fun, because that's what lets me say, yeah, you don't have to listen to everything that you think. So it's finding your hook, right? You found your hook. That was my hook, to be able to understand, kind of start to understand that little voice in my head, not to believe it. So, so let's talk about your kitchen for a moment. And you don't have to answer, because I don't want to put you on the spot, but most of us have a blender in the kitchen. And some of us also have a NutriBullet in the kitchen. And some of us also have a Vitamix in the kitchen. They all do the same thing, but yet we've got these 3 different products. Why do we have them? Because we've been marketed to. There's that whole TV reading the videos, right? We're told that we'll be happier. And it's fascinating, right? This statement, right? I'll be happy when, right? I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when, I get a dog. I'll be happy when I get a diamond ring. I'll be happy, no, be happy now. But we're marketed to buy this stuff. And then this is where the spiral starts. So now you've got 3 different products that are big and bulky in your kitchen. Why did you get them? You got them because they're going to make food prep easier and healthier so that you'll feel better. So the intent is great, but we've been marketed to buy these things. But in reality, you end up ordering out because you've got these 3 huge machines that are blocking the way to get to the frying pan so you can make yourself an egg.
Mhm.
So when I work with somebody, that's one of the things I like to do is, what are things that you have that all do the same thing or similar things, and can you eliminate something?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane when we start to look at how the society is set up, and it's set up for our failure. It's set up to make us feel bad about ourselves. So then when we feel bad about ourselves and we're unhappy, like we don't want to face the unhappy, we don't want to be unhappy, we don't want to be there, and we think that we need to escape from wherever it is that we are. So we turn on the TV to try to just, escape and, turn everything off. But then that's where we get marketed to. So it's like, oh, well, now that we have your full attention here, we're just going to keep throwing these marketing things at you. So then you're going to believe that you're going to be happier. There's a pill for that.
Right. And what did they show people doing? They show people smiling and laughing and having a great time. I mean, seriously, when is the last time you sat in a bathtub outside? Most of us don't do that on a regular basis. If you do, oh my God, you are my people. But most of us don't. I mean, I don't have a bathtub outside to go sit in. I mean, that would be fabulous, but
I have lakes. I go sit in the lake and swim.
We have a defunct community pool that they can't make work. So, I mean, but here's the thing, right? I mean, people bought whatever that was because of what they were being shown. But seriously, how many people sit outside in a bathtub? Or, back to the NutriBullet thing, right? I mean, we bought all these things because we thought they were going to make us happy. Because you don't see somebody making a smoothie and then they go drink from the smoothie and are like, that was awful. No, they're like making something and they're like, woohoo, this is like the best thing ever. And their kids are happy and they're happy. And the husband comes in and gives them a kiss on the neck. And it's like, well, who doesn't want that?
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. We have, Brenny says, I make my bed every day except Sunday. I feel like a rebel.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Right.
So here we are, right? Make it work for you. Good job, girl.
Exactly. And Michelle says, I carry around a huge purse, must weigh 15 pounds. I keep everything I need, in quotes, in there and feel unsafe if I don't have it. I feel fear if it's not near me at all times. I would like to let all that go.
Oh, okay. So the first thing I would say is, let's do some work around, why do you feel like you have to carry the bag with you? And could you start maybe taking little teeny trips that you would normally take it with you? Could you not take it with you? And if that's too much, then I would say, what's something in your bag that does 2 things that you could let go of? So maybe you've got hand lotion in there, and you don't really need hand lotion if you're going to the grocery store, because you have hand sanitizer and you're going to use the hand sanitizer. You get that. We want to watch the germ thing right now, I guess. So maybe you want to keep the hand sanitizer, but you could take out the hand lotion and just leave it on the counter as soon as you come home, or leave it in the car and just leave it in the car, go in and do your errand, and then come back and see, how did you feel? And start stepping it slowly. And that way it's more comfortable, and you don't feel like you don't feel like you're going outside on a winter day in a sundress, right? Maybe start with, could I loosen the scarf and go outside and see how I feel? And then the next time, maybe take the scarf off and see how I feel. So that would be how I would start with that.
That's great advice. Yeah, and I know Michelle's not alone in that. I've known people that have that same thing. I had a student, one of my figure skating students a long time ago. He was a special needs skater, but his skating bag, I swear, I mean, he would have like 5 cans of tuna fish in there. He's like, well, I might get hungry, you know. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, it's like
Maybe not 5 cans worth. Maybe we could
right?
start with, but this is where I would start with, well, let's start with 4. Could you leave 1 at home and
Right.
do that for a little while and get comfortable there? Because you can get comfortable with very little, but it takes time. So you only need in your home, you only need 20% of what's there. You could eliminate the other 80% and live just fine. So here's a great technique to see how much you actually wear in your closet. I would challenge you that from here on in, for the, like, we're at the end of the summer, getting towards the end of the summer season, right? So for the rest of the summer season, every time that you hang something up in your closet, normally your hanger goes like this. Turn your hanger around and have it go backwards. At the end of this season, when you hit mid-September, you guys are in the Adirondacks. So roughly the middle end of September. I'm more south, so for us, it's more like October. How many hangers are still hanging this way and how many hangers are hanging this way? These are the things that you wore. These are the things that are still there. So it's a nice, easy way to see what are you wearing and what are you holding on to that you're not wearing. So it'll be easier going into the winter season at this point because we're already kind of midsummer. So, or whatever season you're in. If you're in the other side of the world, you're in your winter season, you're getting ready to go into summer. So as you're changing season, it's a great time to just flip your hangers around and see what are you wearing and what are you not wearing. And then why aren't you wearing those things? Fancy outfits fall into a different category. We're not worried about that. We're talking about the day-to-day stuff. So why aren't you wearing that t-shirt? Is it because it pulls funny and you're constantly adjusting when you wear it? So you love it, but you're not wearing it. Well, if you love it, there's a couple things we could ask. So is it that you're looking to perhaps release a few pounds to be able to wear it? Well, let's take it out of your closet so that it's not staring you in the face, making you feel fat every day. Let's just do that right away because you deserve that. Is it because it's not in style anymore, but you still love the fabric? Well, could you make a pillow out of it? Or could you add it to a quilt? Or could you do something creative with it so you could still keep it without it necessarily being a shirt that no longer feels comfortable? Could you find a charity? So one of the charities I like to support here is the domestic violence. There's like a thrift store that supports the domestic violence center. So if they can't use the product in the center, then they share it they sell it in the thrift store to create the money to support the center. It's a win-win-win. And it's so fascinating when I tell someone that's where I'm taking it. A lot of times those things that they were on the fence about, oh, you're taking it to the shelter? Hang on. And they run up and they'll come down with a whole new bag. And all those things they were on the fence about, they suddenly are ready to get rid of because they know that they're going to go. So knowing that your things are going to a great charity sometimes makes it an easier way to let go of it as well. But those are some nice ways to kind of take a look at what you have. And my guess is you're probably wearing the same things over and over and over and over. And a lot of the stuff that's in the bottom of your drawers, in the back of your closet, if you were to let it go, you'd never miss it.
This is so true.
Yeah.
In spring and fall, I usually try to go through and go, all right, am I actually going to keep wearing this or not? And
yeah. Like, again, I'm in the South. We sweat a lot here. So, is the neck stained? Is the armpit stained? Have you eaten pizza and there's a pizza stain that you just can't get out of it? Those are some easy ways to help let it go. And from the other side of it, all of that stuff that's in your space, you have to put out energy to maintain it, whether it's working to pay the cleaner, to have the cleaner come in to clean it for you, or you have to clean it yourself, or you have to move it, or the energy that has to go into maintaining all of that stuff is gigantic. It's bigger than we think. So how many times have people said, I quit my job as a CEO and I took this much simpler job and all of a sudden life was happy again? Because you're not working to be a member of a country club, to be with people who are so impressed with all of these things that really don't mean anything.
Exactly. You know, we're, as a society, we're so taught to be consumers, and we're taught that we have to do things so that we can have things. And we're never taught about just simply being. You know, there's no value in just being. You have to be productive. You have to be a contributing member of society by doing something. It's like
Yeah.
we contribute far more to society by being happy.
Yes. I think that's why we're seeing the tiny house movement and the van life movement really gaining so much momentum, is that people are starting to recognize that being in the moment, that living in the moment. I mean, yes, you have to think ahead, and yes, we have to have money, and we have to do all these things. But the more that we can be present in the moment, that we truly are happier. And a lot of times, so the founders of the minimalists, one of the guys says, you know, I was sitting here on a Sunday cleaning out my garage and realizing that I wasn't spending time with my child because I was busy cleaning out the garage. Well, now imagine if you didn't have all of that in the garage, and keeping up with your garage only took a couple of minutes on a regular basis versus having to take full days out of your life. Imagine how much happier you would be. And you're teaching your children, the incoming generation, how to live with less, to be happier, to not have all of this stuff, because now they can focus on themselves and exactly what you just said, be.
Exactly. Lori says it also comes down to happy with what we already have. We are not
Yes.
in competition with anyone else. Marketing doesn't work as well when we remain grateful.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah. So every day in my world is Christmas. I love it when people open something up and they go, oh, I've been looking for that. It's like, we hear that like 17,000 times during a session with someone. Oh, I've been looking for that. Oh, I forgot I had that. Oh, I love that. And then we go into the story about behind it. And to me, that's the magic of keeping something, when there's like this amazing story, but yet when they're done with the story and they're like, they talk about it and they're like, yeah, I'm good with it. It's like, you don't stay in the same place. Where you were 10 years ago is not where you are today. And it's not where you'll be 10 years from now. So the things that you have now have supported you to get here, but are they supporting you to where you want to go? And that's kind of a fun spin on your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michelle with the purse says, thank you. Just talking about it is very uncomfortable.
Oh, I'm so glad that you felt safe to just post that, Michelle.
Yeah.
But yeah, try leaving one thing in your car and just see, like when you go to the grocery store, just take one thing out, leave it in the car, and just see how you feel.
Yeah. You can do this, Michelle. She has made so many strides over the last couple of years that she's just becoming a whole new Michelle.
Well, I'm proud of her for asking. That was great.
Right? Exactly. And
Yes.
just, you know, and making the choice to let it all go, to, you know, realize that, you know what, this really isn't serving me anymore. And, you know, that's the first step, is to simply make a choice. I'm going to let this go. And it doesn't mean that you have to stop cold turkey. It means that I'm going to let this go. I'm visualizing myself being free from this thing. And now I am taking the journey of how I got from where I am now to there.
Yes.
And it's like one thing at a time.
One thing at a time, because
one thing at a time, go and see how it feels. And then once you realize that, you know, I can go into the grocery store without the hand lotion, I think I'll survive for the next 20 minutes and we'll be okay. And once you do that, it's like, oh, I did that. That's cool. You know, and then the next time it may be like, all right, well, maybe I don't actually need lipstick when I go into the grocery store. Like, I can leave that in the car and leave both things. And it's like, oh, and then pretty soon, once you realize, like, it might be like well, maybe I can like really just go through this whole thing and make some other choices and repack. Let me get a smaller bag and let me just put the things in it that I know that I really am going to need.
Right.
And
Yep.
yeah.
And maybe you find you don't need a chapstick and a lipstick. Maybe just the chapstick is fine to have. And the lipstick you only take when you're going someplace where you would actually need to put lipstick on.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden your bag goes from 15 pounds to 14 and a half. So it doesn't have to go from 15 pounds to 5. I mean, let's take that pressure off of you right here. You don't need to do that. It can be just a small step at a time. And the beauty of a small step at a time is if you end up falling backwards, it's a small step. So I love to go into someone's house and just like, give me the key and go to work and just come home and I'll just do it. I mean, to me, that's my thing. My earbuds are in, I'm listening to like a podcast. I'm catching up on a book on tape and I just do my thing. And for me, that's my therapy. I love that. But what happens when I do that is it's uncomfortable because now somebody has walked out, it looks one way, and they walk in and it looks another. They haven't done the work to get there. So the success of it being maintained becomes the question mark, right? Because they weren't actively involved in the process. Now, does it happen? Yes, it happens. They maintain it and it's fine. And it's pretty awesome when they leave and everything's in boxes because they've moved in and they come home from work and their master closet's all set up and they're rolling around on the floor. Yes, there's certain satisfaction in that on both sides. But that being said, are they going to maintain it? They have to have a tour of how does it all go? We have to have this big conversation afterwards of how do I maintain it once it's done? But the other thing it does is it gives them a really big step to slide backwards on. So when you do something small, like leaving the hand lotion in the car today, leaving the lipstick tomorrow, and then the third day leaving the hand lotion and the lipstick in the car, it's not that big of a deal if you forgot. But if you go from that 15-pound handbag to the 5-pound handbag, it's uncomfortable because now all you can think of is all of the stuff that you don't have with you. So if you step it, it just makes it easier.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, when you're ready to let go, and this is I love this one. This is one of my, when I do a talk, this is what I always suggest. When you're ready to let go, I would challenge you to eliminate 9 things a day for 2 weeks. Just 9 things. It can be a pen and a sticky pad that's got 1 sticky left on it. And it could be that simple. It can be 2 socks could count as 2 things if you want it to. Like it doesn't matter. You choose what works for you. But 9 things. Most of us have over 300,000 things or more in our houses. And most of us have storage units. There's enough storage unit space for every man, woman, and child in the United States to stand in storage with room to move. We will spend more storing our stuff as Americans this year than Hollywood is going to spend. Storing our stuff that we typically call our junk, right? So when we talk about energy, right? How much energy has to go into earning the hundreds of dollars that we're spending to store our stuff that we never go in to touch, that we can't even recall more than 10 things that are in there. So letting go of 9 things is really simple. And you can start with, the drink cup from, when you stop to get something to eat last night and it's still sitting on the counter, that could count as 1 thing. And it can be trash. It can be a donation. It can be something that you'd like to take to the consignment store to sell, whatever those 9 things are. So that would be a challenge that I would like to offer. And if anybody wants to let Lisa know, she'll tell me, and I would love to hear your how you felt about that.
Awesome. Yeah. And you're in the Facebook group too. So anybody that's reporting back on the thread here, you'll be able to see that as well. So
I will comment. Tag me. I will comment.
and Lori says, simplify has been my mantra for the past few years, and it feels good. It's interesting how we can feel so much weight lifted by simply letting go of the clutter. Thanks, ladies, for the Sunday conversation. Thumbs up. Thanks, Lori. Thanks for participating. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
It does feel good to let go of the clutter. And talking about the physical clutter, let's also think about the mental clutter. What are the garbage thoughts that are cluttering our minds? What are the self-defeating, self-devaluing thoughts of lack or limitation, or I'm not good enough, fear, doubt, guilt, shame, blame, worry, anxiety, all of those things, those negative things don't belong to any of us.
Those are taught. Those are society taught, society crammed down our throat.
Yep.
So the next time you have those things, write them on your sticky pad. And, Lisa and I have this really cool thing where you can burn them. And the burn can be like actually taking fire to it. Please be safe when you do that. Or, you can tear it up into a million pieces, or you can put it through your shredder, or you can dump spaghetti sauce all over it. I mean, whatever it is, take that thought. And that's why journaling is great. And another great way to journal is just to literally sit there with a piece of paper and just write until there's nothing left to write, and then tear it up. You don't have to keep it. You don't have to have a formal journal. I remember as a kid, right, that little diary with the little key in it. And I was always like, what am I going to write in here? Because my brothers were nosy. They went through my stuff. They were going to read that. And then I was going to get teased for what I wrote. So there's no way I was writing it down.
Yeah.
And I think
that, oh my gosh.
Right. And I think that's something we carry with us as we get older. So here's the thing. How do you sidestep it? Well, just write it on a sticky note and then tear it up or shred it. You don't have to keep it. Why are you keeping it anyway? It's guilt,
Right.
It's shame. It's, oh my gosh. I had this woman who had, speaking of this, she had shelves and shelves of these old journals. And I said, do you ever go back and look at them? She said, no. I said, so why are you holding on to them? And she's like, well, because that's who I used to be. And I said, do you want to be who you used to be, or do you want to be who you are? And it was like, whoa. She went through and she did scan through a few of them just because that's what we do. And she ended up eliminating almost all of them. There was a couple that were about very positive parts of her life, and she wanted to keep those. But she literally went through in these shelves and shelves of these journals, beautiful journals that she had. And I said, well, those journals were there for the time to unload, and you unloaded, but you've unloaded it. I mean, if I can be graphic for a moment, you don't go to the bathroom and not flush the toilet. You don't hold on to that stuff. You let it go. So let it go.
Exactly. When we write stuff down in the journal, it's like if we just simply sit down when we're having a bad day and we just write about it in the journal, we can start to see what we're thinking. Because if we just keep thinking about it, we're not actually looking at what we're thinking. We just allow it to run around and around. But if you actually write it out, it's really revelation to go, whoa, is that even true? Like, is any of this even relevant? And when we start to recognize, wait a second, I'm wasting precious time and real estate, on these kinds of things. Like, is this what I want in my energy field? Is this where I want to live in this clutter? It's like, no.
No. And then you can see the patterns that you have. And once you see the patterns, that's when you can get in and you can stop them.
Exactly. Because every single thought we think has a feeling attached to it. So the body is the thing that is feeling these thoughts. And we don't like the feeling, so we kind of go, oh, I don't want to be in my body. This body thing kind of sucks. I don't want to be there. This body is terrible. No, the body is the thing that's giving you the feedback about what you're thinking about. So there's a direct correlation between your thoughts and your health. Like, the medical model doesn't look at that. Like, we've got a society that has taken body, mind, and soul and separated them. And we have the church that looks at the soul, and we have the mental institutions and the educational institutions that look at the mind. And then we have the medical institution that looks at the body. You can't separate the three things. They're not separatable.
No, no, actually, I have a really cool story for this. So my son, when he was in all of his late teen wisdom, stood up in a parking garage and walloped his head on a beam that supported the building above. And, so of course we went to the hospital and we had, the scans done and we got all the information from that. And they sent us home with this prescription and called the doctor. So of course we called the doctor. Well, I went, yeah, I need more than this. So I called all my healer friends, right? So I had a Reiki master, I had a shaman, I had a medical intuitive, I had some other people, I had a sound therapy person come in. So I did all of these non-traditional modalities to help him, as well as what the doctor suggested, right? Like we put him on some omegas, he wore some sunglasses, stayed off computer screens for a while. He did all that. Well, we go to the doctor 2 days later, and the doctor asks my son, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? And my son's like, maybe 6.5. And the doctor's like, you should be like a 12 or a 15. And of course, I looked at him and I said, well, he has had 25 remote healings since the accident. And the doctor just gave me this blank look like I had spoken gibberish and just went right back. And I looked at him and I said, but it's not just what you're doing, it's also these other things. So, it's his diet. We immediately changed his diet a little bit so his body had what it needed to do to heal. So give it what it needs. And then, we went and saw the doctor and did, the doctor things. And then we did these other things. So it's not this or that. I think if we could get people to change that or to and that's kind of what you talk about, right? It's the and, it's not the or. So let's get that out there.
Yeah, and recognizing that body, mind, and soul are one thing. They are connected. You cannot separate them. And a change in one is going to automatically change the others. So we have to start looking. The soul is who and what we are, always and forever. That is eternal. We do not stop being the soul when we come into a body. We are just talked out of it. We are talked out of our truth.
Right? Like you were told as a kid that what you saw, what you were experiencing, what you were bringing in was wrong.
Yeah.
So you shut it down. And I mean, I would venture to say that almost every adult out there had some sort of something that happened somewhere where somebody well-meaning said, like, I can remember driving down the road in the back of the car and I said to my parents, do you see that beam of light? And my parents were like, oh, she needs to go get her eyes checked. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm not supposed to see that. And that was the end of it. I never saw it again. And now I look back and I think, oh, I'd love to be able to reawaken that. Right. So we probably don't remember most of that.
Yeah.
We just, because they were so innocuous. They weren't these big events where we could look back and say. So yeah, I mean, it'd be really cool to be able to, like, you talk about this, making this a whole new reality and have people be able to be brought up this way. That's why you have this channel, right? Is for people to get back in touch with that. I think you're amazing. I think you're a light worker. I think you're a trailblazer. And again, I think we're all so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Brenny says, ugh, body image stuff. And Michelle says, I hear you, lady. So, the body image stuff, we've all been taught that we are the body and that the body is who we are, and it is not who we are. It's part of who we are. And we have all been taught that you have to look like the cover, the cover model on the magazine or the movie star. And, that if you don't look like you're, a size 0 and voluptuous, that, you're not good enough, or that you're ugly, or, I lived with being ugly. I thought I was ugly forever. because I had kind of this big nose and my face isn't that perfect geometry. And, my body was really slender. Everybody always called me skinny. I hated that. And, it was awful. So I had this fantastic body that worked like it was amazing. It could fly through the air and spin like a top and dive to the bottom of the lake and hold its breath for minutes at a time and do all this amazing stuff. This body was like spectacular. But then I thought it was ugly and I thought, it wasn't good enough. And so all of that self-depreciation about something that was so amazing. We're never taught how amazing we are. We're never taught to see the good in ourselves. So when our bodies aren't the way we want them to be, we can simply start to look and go, you know what, it's reflecting all of the clutter, all of these cluttered thoughts that I have had, that I have been taught about myself. And we start to recognize that, oh my gosh, my poor body has been mirroring my thoughts. And all I have to do is change those around and start to
Yes.
accept myself as who I am and start to recognize that I'm not this body, but this body is working exactly the way it's designed to work. It's designed to reflect my thoughts about myself. And so when we start to recognize that, oh my gosh, body, thank you. Thank you for showing me where I'm not feeling comfortable about myself. And let me start looking at who am I really? Like, who was I when I came into this body as that innocent, pure baby? And let me return to template. Let me start clearing out all of this other stuff. And just by simply remembering who I am. And when we start to remember who we are, we can start to know ourselves. And when we know who we are, nobody can convince us that we're ugly or we're not smart enough or that we don't know what we're talking about. Just simply stand in our truth.
Exactly. And a great way to do that is just to start appreciating, right? Appreciate. What can you appreciate? What can you appreciate about your body? Can you appreciate the fact that you swung out of bed this morning and you're able to put both feet on the floor? And then maybe as you walk to the bathroom, each foot hits the floor and it's thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's your mantra on the way to the restroom. And, that could be the way you start your day. Talk about starting your day, appreciating your body, being in a good mood, focusing on the positive. Oh my gosh, that changes like the whole day, right? And that only took 30 seconds.
Right? Exactly. I try to start my day, before I get out of bed. I just simply notice my own light. I just pretend that I can see light coming out of my body and just start to recognize like I am that light. And I just start to focus on it and I start to allow it to shine. I make a choice to just have a great day and see what unfolds.
What's fascinating is when we do these things, how everything else kind of falls into place.
Exactly.
Like we're able to start to recognize those patterns. We're able to hear that little voice that's telling us I'm not good enough. All of a sudden you can pick it out of the noisy clutter that's going on in our brain. All of a sudden you can pick it out and you can say, oh, hang on, that's not right. Let's change that thought. I was with a friend last night and we were talking just about that, just how when something happens, we're commenting how we have finally reached a point where we can recognize it, at least occasionally, when we have those thoughts, and how we can say, oh, wait a minute, that's not my thought. I don't need to have that. I could change that. Exactly. It was a really cool conversation.
I love it. Yeah, that's right up my alley for sure. Brenny says, seems like everybody has something. And we all need to see ourselves for the beautiful souls we are. Exactly. Yes, we are far more magnificent than we've been allowed to know.
Exactly. We came here to experience this non bigness, right? We came here to experience limitations and to have these to have this. That's why we're here. So as we work through it, it's really cool, right? I mean, and we all do it the way we're supposed to do it. And comparison, oh gosh, this was a big conversation last night, was comparison is the thief of happiness.
Yep.
So, you know, you are where you are, and that's perfect. And just keep taking your little steps. That way, if you do slide back, it's a small step. It's just a, you know, it's just the tip of your toe, grab the ground. It's not you're flat out on your stomach. And, you know, you're going to take your steps as you go, and everyone's doing it differently. And as you go, you affect all the people around you. How cool is that? And it's positive. Just like, you know, when you walk into a room. So here's talking about some of that other clutter, right? When you walk into a room, you can tell if somebody's had an argument, or if they're not getting along, or if there's something weird or off.
Mhm.
Or if you walk into a room and it's like, woohoo, let's throw the arms out, right? You want to be in those situations that make you want to throw your arms out. That's that expansive amazingness.
Exactly. Yay. This has been such a great conversation, giving us everybody so much to think about, to just start to notice, where's the clutter in your life? Where do you have clutter in your home? Where do you have clutter in your thought pattern? What are those patterns? Just start to simply notice. And the first step to clear it is to choose to clear it. Make that choice to clear that clutter.
And it doesn't matter where you start.
Exactly.
It does not matter. But wherever you start, it's going to affect everything
Exactly.
in the most perfect and beautiful way.
We love that. Beautiful. So Lianne, how do people reach you if they'd like to clear their clutter and have some guidance on that?
Well, thanks for asking. Anybody can find me on Facebook at the Clutter Consultant, and they can find me on at liannehofer.com, which is, my name is spelled a little bit differently. So it's liannehofer.com. Or you can find me at theclutterconsultant.com.
Beautiful. I'm just typing it in to Facebook. And
Well, thank you for that.
there you go. Beautiful. So if you are looking for somebody to help you clear that clutter, bust through it, and create brand new patterns for yourself of clarity, then please reach out to Lianne. As you can tell, she is awesome to work with. She's got a great attitude. She's got a beautiful sense of humor, and she's just a generally amazing person to spend some time with. So it'll be a great investment in yourself. So,
well, thank you, Lisa. And if you haven't gotten Lisa's book, shameless plug, definitely recommend getting this book. It's amazing. And she has a new program coming out, and it starts on Wednesday. Sign up now.
You got it. It's always very exciting. I love taking people through this 12-week journey into themselves to clear out all of these cluttered thought patterns that we've all been taught that are holding us back and preventing us from being the radiantly healthy beings that we are born to be.
Exactly. That's why I'm signing up, and that's why I'm going to do it. So maybe I'll see you there.
I am so excited about this, Lianne. Yay.
Yay.
All right. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another Solution Sunday, because the soul is the solution. So thanks for joining us. Until next week, create for yourselves a clutter-free, great week. Bye for now.
Bye.